Welcome to How Preschool Teachers Do It.
This is Alison Kentos. I am an early childhood educator.
And this is Cindy Tarabush. I am an early childhood consultant.
This podcast is for parents and early childhood professionals.
Let our experience and research-based knowledge become your guide. Hey, preschool peeps.
Hey, peeps.
It's that episode where we promised you really good feedback 5, but you got to wait for it. First, you have to listen to the whole episode.
Got to listen to the whole thing.
Yes.
It's like a reality TV show where you want to just know who got voted off.
Kind of like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So very often I've been in early childhood settings where they're talking to the children about what they want to be when they grow up. You, Allison?
Yeah, I think that's a question that everybody asks all the time, right? What do you
kids talk about it without even us asking. They'll talk about when they grow up, right? When they grow up, they want to be Spider-Man, or they want to be a princess, or they want to be, they talk about what they want to be. I've had young children come to me and say, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I look at them and I say, comfortably retired. I think that's always my response.
It's so true.
The kids look at me like, what does that mean? And the adults all crack up like you do.
My favorite answer to when somebody asked another kid, what do you want to be when you grow up? The child said, I want to be a snowman.
Wow, that's going to be rough.
Yeah. It's still my favorite answer.
Here's another thing to think about. Allison and I were kind of wondering what we're setting up when we say to children all the time, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to be when you grow up? And I think a couple things. I think, first of all, can we ever just concentrate on today? That's one thing.
Right.
But then, Allison, when I was talking about that, you made a really great point. Share it with the peeps.
I feel like it sets up these unrealistic expectations that their life needs to be oriented around career and work. And it shouldn't be.
I don't recall ever having a conversation with a young child where somebody said, what do you want to be when you grow up? And the child said, I would like to be generous and kind. I don't recall that.
Because, and shouldn't that be exactly what we want all of them to grow up to be?
Yeah. Because
it's this society that we live in, the world that we live in, is so focused on these professional goals, right? And I feel like maybe we should take the emphasis off of those things so that when things happen where that professional stuff doesn't play out, you don't feel like you failed.
Or even if we take away that whole notion of, maybe they won't fail, maybe they will reach their goals. Yeah, but why are we completely focusing them on an identity as someone who does a career? Can't your identity be the way that you would like to walk through the world, through things like kindness, generosity. What do you want to be when you grow up? I want to always be somebody who wants to read. I want to always be somebody who wants to learn. And instead, we are always looking for I want to be a teacher. I want to be an astronaut. I want to be, I don't know what, but it's always an occupation.
Yeah, it's always an occupation.
Mm-hmm. Always an occupation. So how do we steer children to talk about the sort of person you want to be? Because occupations, as we all know, come and go, folks. Some people stay in an occupation their whole lives, but it's rare. How many times do people change jobs?
Rare. A lot.
Especially these days.
Especially these days. And I also feel like you might not stay with the same type of field even for your entire working life. Like, I feel like it's okay to just have a job to pay your bills because maybe that's not your focus in life. And other people need that job to feel fulfilled, why can't we just focus on like, I want to be a good person? Like, I want to be a good friend would be a nice thing for people to.
It would be nice. I never hear kids say this stuff though.
No.
There's a lot of people who talk about normalizing the goal of going to maybe trade school instead of college, that kids should have options. It's kids should know as they're growing up that you could go to college, you could go to trade school and learn a trade. You can do all these things to earn a living as you get older. So they talk about, let's normalize that. Let's not make the consistent message everyone has to go to college. Not everyone will thrive in a college atmosphere. I agree that not everyone will thrive there, right?
Yeah.
And maybe this should be about like, let's normalize talking about what sort of person we want to be instead of what job we want to have.
Yeah. Yeah. Take the emphasis off of the job, I feel.
I wonder how many kids think things like their whole life, right? Like, when I grew up, I want to be, I'm just going to use teacher as an example because it's what I am, right? So maybe there are kids who grow up and say, when I grow up, I want to be a teacher. And what they discover when they become a teacher is that it's not anything like they thought it would be. And now they're crushed because they spent how many years telling people, I want to be a teacher. And you know what? When kids say stuff like that, that's possible. When kids say, I want to be Spider-Man, the adults around them know that's not going to happen. But when a child consistently through their life says, when I grow up, I want to be a teacher, I want to be a teacher, I want to be a teacher, it also focuses the family maybe on helping them to achieve the goal of being a teacher. And the family invests all kinds of time and effort and money, not to mention money if they have it, and
what happens if you never fulfill it, or you get in it and you're like, oh, wait, this is not for me. I thought I wanted this my whole life. My family invested all this money. I invested all this time. Now I'm in it. I'm like, now it's not for me. Then you feel like you failed.
Yes. And you've let people
down.
Your whole
life is, and you let people down.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You've let people down. The people may be let down. They may think, but your whole life you said you wanted to do this. Mm-hmm. The focus needs to be different. I think that the emphasis should be on what type of person do you want to be? And by the way, as a job or as a career, I'm thinking of doing this.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
By the way.
Well, also, like, I feel like your career and your occupation shouldn't be your entire identity. And so often it is, because even like as adults, you go to a party. What's the first question people ask? What do you do for a living?
What do you do?
What do you do for a living? You know what I do?
Well, they're trying to determine your socioeconomic status.
Right, which is so wrong. But like often I'm like, I'm a mom to my dog. Okay. It's not my full-time occupation, but I absolutely love taking care of my dog. Okay. But why does it matter what I do for money? Why is that the entire, and then you get like, oh, there's Alison, she's a teacher. No, there's Alison, she's a good person. It should be what it is.
Yeah, I think our
Alison, she likes to paint in her spare time. You know what I mean? Like it's weird that it's so focused on that.
It speaks so much about the society that we're in, where we're recording this. We're in a capitalist nation, right? And so capitalism depends on people focusing on careers. Totally get it. And I'm not knocking, listen, I'm not knocking any of that. What I'm saying is
do what you need to do, but
do what you need to do. But what I'm saying is when we're setting goals with children and we're saying, instead of saying, what do you want to do when you grow up? It should be, who do you want to be? What sort of person do you want to be?
Yeah.
Do you want to be kind? Do you want to be generous? Do you want to be a good listener? Do you want to be someone who helps people? Do you want to be, how do you want to act? Do you want to be somebody who has a lot of fun and joy? Yeah. Do you want to be somebody who
be a world traveler?
Right. That's a good one. Do you want to travel? Do you
things? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then they'll feel like their success is not just wrapped up in work. If you're like, hey, I want to be a world traveler, and you traveled the world, you succeeded in that goal, and then you had a job to make money to be a world traveler, and that's your goal, and that's great. Like, take the emphasis off of it being about the career.
Yeah.
I'm very curious if our peeps who are in other countries, is this only in the United States because we're so capitalistic? I mean, or are other countries like this too?
Is capitalistic a word? I don't even know now.
Said it
because
but I'm not
yeah, but I don't know. I don't know if it's just
anybody
us.
Who's really into language.
Again, we always apologize for this. So different when you write than when you speak out loud, and especially, when we record this podcast, we are really just talking about these issues. We have not rehearsed anything. We are not scripted.
Anything. I'll forget what I'm saying in the middle of saying it, and then I get all flustered. Me too. It happens, whatever.
So sometimes we will misuse words, you will find.
Yeah.
I don't know if it is just here in the United States, or if it's worldwide, that when you look at a child and you say, what do you want to be when you grow up, you get a career back.
Well, I'm wondering if in other countries, do they not even ask? Because maybe the emphasis isn't on that. Maybe
that's a good question.
Even talk about it, right?
That's how do we keep promoting the sort of society we're in? We keep focusing people on having successful careers.
Right. Also, like the children that you are asking are so young that they have no idea half the time what they want to be. Like you ask a 3-year-old, what do you want to be? And they say, I want to be a ballerina, great. But you also,
and some of them do grow up to be ballerinas. Some of them
do, but you're 20 years out from that, to that career point. Like, so what's the point of even asking them?
And if a child came to me and said, let's say you have a child who enjoys dance and they come to you and they say, I want to be a ballerina, then I might pave a path to see if they actually could do that when they get older. But I don't know that it would be the emphasis of every conversation that I have.
Right.
Yeah. You're more than just your ballet shoes.
Yes.
And children are more than any occupation that they could pick out and strive for.
I also feel like sometimes it's family pressure. Right? You have a family that's filled with doctors. So they just expect that you, as a young child, are going to grow up and become a doctor. And you might grow up and say, I don't want to be a doctor, but you feel pressured into it, that your whole life was geared towards that. And then when you have to tell them, no, I want to be a teacher or a lawyer or a ballerina or whatever it is, they feel like you failed the family. And it should be like that.
If they can grow up and earn an honest living and support themselves, then parenting jobs are done. They're grown up, they're independent, they're supporting themselves. They should know if you need to change careers, we're not going to shame you for it. They should know that, if they spent, 20 years talking about how they wanted to be a thing and it's not working out. So,
then just
because
support them.
But if you grow up with a goal, like, I want to grow up and be generous, or I want to be kind, you can be that through any job change. You can be that, you can be that no matter what happens. You can be that even if your career disappears. I think about the number of careers that have disappeared because of technology. You can be that person no matter what. So that's achievable. It's actually achievable to grow up to want to be kind, and it's achievable to want to be generous, and it's achievable to want to be ambitious or a learner or whatever it is kids might identify as a character trait instead of an occupation.
Right.
Occupations come and go. Who do you want to be as a person?
Yeah.
And let's teach you how to do that. Right? Let's teach you how to be kind and let's teach you how to be generous, because that will weave through your entire life, no matter who comes and goes and what comes and goes. Yeah. So I hope that this gives everybody food for thought about conversations with kids around what they want to be when they grow up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I know kids are going to come to you and say, when I grow up, I want to be, that's fine. That's fine.
They say it all the time. That's fine.
That's fine. And we can say, oh yeah, that's nice. And then I can have other conversations that focus them on, when we grow up, we want to be this sort of person, this type of person.
Yeah.
Okay. So we promised people a feedback 5 that we thought was a little bit thought-provoking. So let's do that.
Yeah. All right. So we heard from Sarah, who said she recently listened to the episode about the quality of people at a school. 2 years ago, I left a school where gossip and unprofessional behavior were the norm. After years of working there.
And that's so true in many places, right?
Right.
And she had, do I recall correctly, was she the person who had reported it to an administrator, and nothing happened, basically, as her, right?
She wrote, after years of working there and sharing my concerns with several directors, I got the impression that firing a person is all but impossible. Just before I left, the current director told me she was well aware of the toxic environment, but she said she felt she could not get involved.
You know what? There's so much at play right now, I think. I think it is, depending on where you work, it can be really impossible to fire people. In public schools here, teachers have tenure through the union, very hard to fire teachers.
There's
If
also
you're in a
not
private
many applicants
setting, right?
anymore.
If you're in a
to
private
replace
setting,
them. Yeah.
how are we replacing them in the current job market? It's very, very difficult to get people. And here's an interesting little side note. In the private settings that I work with, one of the things that I'm starting to hear is that because government entities are so short-staffed as well, that doing things like getting background checks put through is taking months and months and months. And so
you'll go to
think of that. You'll go to hire somebody, and then they can't start for a long time, and then they sometimes find another job. That's what I'm hearing from people. So yes, it's really hard to replace people. At the same time, people need to be held accountable, or it's the wild, wild west in your program.
Yeah. And like, it just trickles down to the children. Like if they see all this toxic behavior going on with the adults, they just think that's the norm of how to act towards each other.
And I know some administrators feel like that the gossip is not something they need to address. This is people being people. This is not on their, something that they need to worry about. Running the program and curriculum and budgets and whatever. And the gossip is just like whatever. But the gossip is what is poisoning your staff.
It's poisonous. Yeah. It creates this toxic environment where not everybody's comfortable. Some people thrive on that kind of drama. I am not one of those people that thrives on that. So no. I then suffer in that kind of environment. And eventually I'm just gonna be like, you know what, I'm leaving because I can't be here, and then you will lose good people that way. And then you're stuck with all the people who just cause this craziness and drama.
I'm definitely more a go to the source and call them out on their nonsense person. I'm not that beat around the bush with other people gossipy person. I don't think. I'm sure I have been throughout my life. We grow and we mature. At this stage in my life, I'm very much like, no, if I don't like what you did, I'm telling you that I don't like what you did in the best possible way. I'm going to tell you that. And there are probably people listening right now going, yeah, I was on the other end of that. But hey, it's better than me going to 30 other people and talking about you. So I'd rather bring it to you.
Right.
I think that comes with time and maturity. And I'm sure that there were points in my life where I went the gossip route too. Yeah. But in a staff, it is truly, truly poisonous. It's poisoning the well, and it's undermining our ability to work with each other and therefore with the children, and it's everybody's problem. And I'm going to go back to, if I didn't mention it in the episode, I should have, but I think I did. I hope I did, but if not, here it is.
Here it is.
The National Association for the Education of Young Children has a code of ethical conduct and statement of commitment that talks about how coworkers should be treating each other. And you need anti-gossip policies that you can enforce through verbal and written warnings and eventual termination. And you can base it on the fact that our code of ethical conduct says we need to behave with each other a certain way. And so here's the policy. I know administrators, directors, principals who've pulled out that policy after people have signed it and said, I'm hearing that there's gossip. We have an anti-gossip policy. If you have a problem with me or somebody else, you need to go directly to that person to work it out. And if that doesn't work, then we as the administrators will try to mediate, but you're going to have a conversation with each other that we will mediate. If we hear or see gossip, there will be verbal warnings, written warnings, and potential termination. People need to know that we're serious. And I understand how hard it is to terminate people. I get it.
Yeah.
I know people who've gotten to the point though this year where they're like, at the beginning of the school year, I thought I cannot terminate anybody. I can't find anybody, but they are fed up. And they're like, we will have to figure out what to do. And it's one of the reasons why I'm always telling people to have an ongoing ads that they cycle, that they take out of circulation and then put back in, so that the ad online doesn't say that it's been there for more than 30 days or something. But keep cycling your ads, because you never know who's out there. And you might find someone where you think, now this person would be healthier for my staff.
Yeah. And then you can make an effective change there.
And I'll say this about Sarah's contact to us. If I recall correctly, Alison, my impression was that she left the setting where this was happening. She's no longer there. I think that she said that.
I was wondering.
And if that's the case,
yes, she said just before I left, the current director told her that the environment was toxic and she couldn't do anything about it.
She couldn't do anything about it. Okay.
Yeah.
So good for you for leaving. And I think that one message that administrators can get when that happens, when good people leave, sometimes you have to think about why. Now, apparently this person told the director why. And
she told several directors, not just one.
When you leave, when you leave, even though they didn't do anything about it when you were there, hopefully the fact that you actually packed up your boxes of stuff and left gives them some food for thought about who's valuable, who's not valuable, and how are we actually going to handle this in the future. Sometimes it's live and learn like that. For leaders too. We're not, leaders don't have all the answers or know how to go through the path either all the time. Right. And it's live and learn. So thank you for sharing that with us and for prompting us to have this conversation. Yeah. Okay. We are going to let you ponder both things, your conversations about when children grow up and steering them on character traits rather than occupations, if at all possible. And the whole gossip thing and how I understand how hard it is in settings now to hire people, but you can't let that live on. Can't let it perpetuate.
Yeah.
Okay. We will catch you next time. And don't forget to go to our website, howpreschoolteachersdoit.com. Sign up for our Pen Pals thing.
Yes, I'm so excited.
Check out our blog and our videos, but you do need to log into the site to do that. We have a privacy statement there. We're not using your email address for anything except letting you into those areas of the website. So just please go in, log into the website. The login is, I think, on the upper right. Just log in and then go ahead and have access to the full site.
It's awesome.
See you or hear you or whatever.
Soon. Read you. Bye, peace.